sun is racing.
Howdy, race fans, and welcome to the Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR show for the AAA Texas 500 at Texas Motor Speedway.
This week we're bringing a whole new meaning to the Texas two-step as we've reached race 2 of the round of 8 of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series chase. The only person who's feeling safe right now is Jimmie Johnson, as he's already got a win as we head to this 1.5-mile track nestled in Fort Worth, Texas.
Interesting fact here, Jimmie Johnson owns many of the stats at Texas. He is first in 4 out of 8 categories, most wins, which is 6, most top 10s with 18, most laps led with 1,017 with an average finish of 8.8. Jimmie Johnson and the number 48 team just own this track. The last 7 races here, all won by Jimmie Johnson as far as the Chevy is concerned. The other 3 were won by Kyle Busch with 2 wins and Joey Logano.
The Texas weather looks to be sunny and 75 degrees for race time on Sunday on NBC, so make sure you tune in. Liehr, do us the honors, buddy.
Burning rubber, baby.
Adrian, who's your pick to burn some rubber, buddy?
I'm going to take this guy right here. I'm going to take Jimmie Johnson in the number 48 car. I know. I picked him last week, but it actually worked out, didn't it? I hope you guys picked him too, because he ended up winning the race, and he's the only guy that is locked into the Final Four at Homestead Miami Speedway. So, Jimmie Johnson is just one of those guys who, obviously, he's feeling secure right now, and they don't have to bring their best car to Texas, because they already need to save their mile-and-a-half car for Homestead Miami. It's the most important race of the season, so why would they bring their best car to Texas? The thing is that, that I would say to the people that say that is the fact that I don't think they understand how many fast race cars the 48 team has. I don't think that they just have one car that they're, putting all their eggs in. I think that this team definitely has a fleet of race cars that are very, very fast. I think he underqualified at the 19th position. I think Jimmie Johnson is way better than that, and I think his stats kind of agree with that. He has 26 starts at Texas. That includes 20 top 10s, 14 top 5s, and 6 wins. Just like I said last week about his stats at Martinsville, he can, trends to have these kind of stats at a lot of tracks because he is, in my opinion, one of the greatest drivers to ever sit behind the wheel of a stock car. He's the winner of 5 of the last 8 races at Texas. He also is the winner of the past 4 chase races at Texas Motor Speedway. And, everyone says that, they created the chase because, Jimmie Johnson rules, because it was to stop Jimmie from winning all these championships. And it has, but that's only because Jimmie Johnson hasn't been eligible to make the chase, or he hasn't still been eligible in the chase once we've reached Texas, because he always wins Texas. And if you look back over the previous seasons, Jimmie would have been in the Final Four had he been able to hang on in the chase. So I just love this guy coming into Texas. This is, kind of his playground like Lowe's Motor Speedway was back in the day. I mean, I know that I picked him last week, and I know that everyone's picking him a lot lately. But if you just go through his game log on DraftKings, I mean, the guy is he's spitting out points like crazy. I mean, it's like you just hit the jackpot on the slot machine with this guy. And we're not even racing in Vegas. So in my opinion, Jimmie Johnson, I know he costs $10,800, and I know he's going to do a lot to your lineups. And I also understand, the side of this argument where people might say that Jimmie Johnson costs too much. They're not going to bring their best car to Texas. They're already locked into the chase. But also remember, the more times that Jimmie Johnson can win, that's the more cars that aren't going to be going into Homestead on wins. So that's another Gibbs car that he can keep out of the chase. And trust me, Jimmie wants to have as few of those come Homestead that he can, because those guys have been the cream of the crop all season. In my opinion, he's just he's the hottest driver in the sport, and he's one of the most consistent drivers in the sport. And him himself, along with Denny Hamlin and a few other guys, Kyle Busch, they're going to be the kind of guys you have to look at putting on your lineups, because these are the guys who are going to rack up points, because they're going to be moving through the field, and there's no way they don't finish inside the top 10.
Yeah, man, dude, you're going to make Trevor Bayne a little jealous with all the love you've shown for Jimmie Johnson the last couple of weeks. But dude, it's
maybe so.
From a fantasy perspective, your heart's in the right place, because Jimmie Johnson has been a necessity for you to dominate GPPs and cash games even in daily fantasy. I actually love the Jimmie Johnson play from a place differential, and that car is just going to run top 5. I'm with you. I don't buy the argument that they aren't going to try. I don't buy the argument that they aren't going to be fast this weekend. I buy the argument that they're going to try to win and push another JGR car out of the race, out of the Final Four. So I just love your narrative there. I'm all over Jimmy Johnson. I think it's the right play. I don't know where Liehr's at on this. And guys, Liehr told me he would do his best to try to comment on all of our picks after we got the show up on the website. So remember to just check that out on YouTube, where you try to engage all of you guys every week with as much as we can.
My first burning rubber pick this week is Carl Edwards in the number 19 vehicle. Edwards loves Texas and has good track history, and he has 3 victories here in 22 race attempts. He's got 7 top 5s and 12 top 10s. He has a top 10 finish in his first 4 races here. In his last 4 races here. But Carl has had 2 tough weeks in the past couple of weeks. Talladega, which was due to a strategy with the JGR team, and then last week he had the crash there at Martinsville. But his ownership percentage this week is owned, as it should be. But another great factor for him this week as well is his cost, which is basically the same as it's been at $8,900. He was sub 10% owned last week, and should remain basically the same this week, if not under 8%, depending on where he qualifies. But he should have a fast car this week. He and his crew chief Dave Rogers need a really strong race this weekend as the standings and the driver points for the chase. So they really need a strong finish here this weekend at Texas, and this is one of his tracks that he's really good at. So I look for him to at least qualify in the top 5 and lead a bunch of laps and become one of those dominators here at Texas.
Yeah, Liehr, see, I love the Carl Edwards play this week. It's an interesting one, and I get why you're wanting to make it. I think the fact that he has to basically win in order to advance to the next round of the chase is impressive, and you know how I feel about narratives, and when people have their back against the wall, that is a storyline I usually love to play in daily fantasy. I also love his teammate Kyle Busch that's starting 24th, that's in a backup car that is only starting 24th because they had a water hose come undone. As long as that car is in tip-top shape and looks good in practice, it looked like one of the 3 fastest cars on the track, in my opinion. I also love Kyle Busch. I understand both he and Carl are expensive, but you're going to probably want at least a piece of JGR this week, in my opinion, to go along with Jimmy Johnson and my next burning rubber pick that's coming up here in a second. Adrian, your thoughts?
I completely agree with you on the fact that it might be a good play, just based on the narrative. And it's kind of the same reason that so many people played Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski back in Talladega, because this is a situation where everyone's pretty much already given Kevin Harvick the trophy next weekend in Phoenix based on past history. So, basically Carl Edwards has to win Texas based on that, analysis. So, in that case, I like it, but that's, also barring that Carl can actually go out and get the job done. In my opinion, I just like his, some of his teammates better for just place differential. And if I like the guys like, Denny Hamlin and Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch that are going to give me that awesome place differential, I can't afford Carl Edwards. But I definitely think Carl Edwards is a nice fade. Obviously, he's one of the 8 fastest cars all season. I have no problem with the Carl Edwards play, and he's only $8,900 also, so that's a really good price if you're going to want to play Carl Edwards. And it's a nice GPP play because a lot of people aren't going to be looking in their direction, as they, kind of have been the tail end of the JGR cars, even though they've, gotten hot for a race or two and then kind of fallen off for a month and a half. Carl's definitely one of those teams that they could get hot at the right time, and you just never know where they're going to come from. But, I don't mind it on a GPP format, but it's definitely not somewhere I'm going to look in cash.
Right. And, dude, all those JGR cars notoriously throughout the year are cars that you have to consider for your GPP lineups. And they're starting all across the field. But I think some of the analysis you gave there on the JGR cars is going to also apply to my burning rubber pick. And some of you are going to tell me I'm crazy, and that is part of the reason why I'm actually making this pick this week. I'm recommending, and I'm going to take off the cowboy hat because it's Harvick time, baby. And I realize he has been disappointing the last couple of weeks in fantasy, but that's one of the reasons I'm going to tell you that you want to play him. And I know he's $10,900, which is astronomically crazy on DraftKings to pay for a driver. But let me tell you why I think you want to be on Kevin Harvick this week. First of all, in my opinion, there's zero chance that Austin Dillon and that RCR car stay up in the front even remotely through probably even 3 laps at this track. I just don't think he's as dialed in as Logano and Harvick. Harvick looked like he was the fastest car on the track. In qualifying round 1 and qualifying round 2, Harvick was clearly the fastest car on the track. He wasn't in tip-top shape that last time out and could have easily taken down the pole. I think he's got the fastest car out there. Now, because he's coming off back-to-back disappointing fantasy performances, and his price, what it does to your build of your lineups, and the fact that most people that know the sport are like, oh, dude, Harvick's all in for Phoenix. That's his track. They won't be owning him here. Look at his track history here. He has a history of placing top 5 consistently as long as he doesn't have a problem with the car. I think this is finally the week and the year and the race that he wins at Texas, taking all stress off for next week in Phoenix, and he just is able to ride to victory. I'm calling it right here, right now. Back-to-back Harvick victories at Texas and at Phoenix. Watch it happen. I think because this car looks so fast, because he's going to be the lowest owned that you can possibly get him all season long, if he's the dominator, I think he's going to be on this track come Sunday. Fading him will be at your own peril. Your thoughts, Adrian?
Well, just from the sound of it, I'm going to be showing a lot of love to guys like Michael McDowell, Landon Castle, Brian Scott, because I'm going to actually be spending some money this week because some of the drivers I want carry a high price tag. And I'll be honest with you guys, Kevin Harvick has cost me a lot of money over the past couple of weeks, and he's kind of been a thorn in my side and, been the guy that's kept me from winning all these GPPs and been the one guy that if I would have changed out, I would have won. Mm-hmm. But Kevin Harvick is also someone that you can't fade, and that's the problem every week in fantasy, and we say it every week on the show, to Harvick or not to Harvick. And usually when you Harvick, things look good for you. I know that he's had some fluky races over the past couple of weeks where they just don't really define what he is as a driver or what that 4 team is as a race team. And I know his price is astronomical, just like you said. That's a good word for it because that's about the only way to describe 10,900. Some drivers, like there's 90% of the drivers, when there was only 5 drivers you could pick, weren't even that much. So you're definitely going to have to be looking lower down the lineup, playing some guys like Trevor Bayne and guys that have good place differential opportunity. But Kevin Harvick is the guy that if you're not going to play him, it's because you just see that them, not being able to lead any laps. And in my opinion, that's crazy to think that. So I think you have to definitely have some exposure to Harvick. But because of his price, definitely fade Harvick a little bit, just so you can see what you can work with, having more money on the table. But I love the Harvick play.
No, I totally agree, man. You if your strategy is to limit exposure on Harvick, I can totally understand it. But I think a lot of players this weekend are going to be fading Harvick, and I just think that instinctually that's a terrible idea. I know it's a terrible idea. Like people are going to be doing it. Mark my words, people are going to be doing it, and it is going to bite them royally. Like so. With that said, we clearly know that you need some value this week. As just trust us when you try to put together Jimmy Johnson and Harvick on a lineup, or Harvick and Busch, or Johnson and Busch, you're gonna see you need some value. So with that, Adrian, who do you have us at some value this week for us at value this week?
Well, I mean, not to sound like a broken record or anything, but the guy I'm picking this week might actually be the same guy I picked for value last week, who got you 48 points on DraftKings. Obviously, I'm talking about Casey Kane in the number 5 car. The team, had a terrible qualifying run in that drive to Hunger Chevrolet, qualifying 31st, which is unbelievable for that race team. Usually they're, definitely at least qualifying in the top 20. So honestly, in my opinion, that right there from the start is a good sign if you're looking at playing Casey Kane. He costs $8,400. He's not exactly the guy that you were talking about that will save you money if you're trying to play Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson. But he's also the guy who has, 8th place finish, and he has in the past 3 races he has 2 8th place finishes along with a 20th. And even that 20th, you might look at that and say that that's not a good finish. But if you look at where he's starting, that's still plus 11 place differential, and that's still going to get you close to 40 points, and that's pretty much what you're going to want out of Casey Kane. So if you look at his race or his track history here at Texas, he doesn't really finish outside the top 15 a lot. So I mean, the guy is 11th, 5th, 11th, 8th. I mean, the guy is pretty consistent here at Texas, and the great thing, the thing that we love about the guys that have the place differential opportunity is, we talk about it a lot, but they have a lot of room to kind of, go throughout the race. You're not too worried about where they're going to be running. If you look at if you pick a guy starting up near the front like Paul Menard, there's a lot of pressure on Paul Menard to stay there so he doesn't get negative points. But if you look at a guy like Casey Kane, as long as he finishes in the top 20, you're looking pretty good from a fantasy perspective. So you don't need as much out of Casey Kane as you do out of Paul Menard. Paul Menard needs to have a way better race than Casey Kane does to actually pay off the salary. And that's why the guys starting farther back are better plays, in my opinion. Casey's just been so hot lately. And I talked about it last week. I don't really need to go over it again. If you watch the show, you know our love for Casey Kane lately. I just don't see any way that you're not having exposure to Casey Kane. Just because he can sneak up there in the top 12 like he did last week and have over a 50-point day at only 8,400.
Oh, absolutely, man. I love the Kane, and the only reason I didn't take the pick is I knew you wanted to run it back. I am all over Kane this week, and the only reason he will not be in lineups is if I don't have the money to put him in lineups, because I'm going with a different place differential guy that I see having a better chance to win the race. That is literally the only reason that I would not have Kane in the lineups this week. I think that he's the right play, and he's helped me make money over the past few weeks, and I know it's the right play for you guys out there this week. With that said, Liehr, you're going to pick.
My pick this week will be Landon Castle. Now, I know I picked Castle last week as my value play, but you can't argue that with another great week of value for him this weekend at Texas. Listen to Castle's fantasy points here in the last month, but starting last week at Martinsville, he scored 37, 35, 25, and 38. And for a driver whose cost this week is $5,500, that is a tremendous value for this guy. He allows you to spend more money on the top end guys this week too at that $5,500 price point. So it's definitely going to be one of your good pump plays this week. But he's got some great place differential stats here as well. He started 12 races here at Texas. I feel like I keep doing the same thing with him, but he's got 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 0 top 10s here. But he's got an average starting position of 34.8 with an average finish of 31.4. So, in fact, his last 2 starts here, he started 36th and 33rd, and both finished 25th in the last 2 races here at Texas. So, perhaps this week, I promise you will not be disappointed with the number 38 Landon Castle here at Texas. And, you're definitely going to need, as far as a pump play, to get you into that GPP. So, I definitely would stick with Castle as far as one of your major pump plays, and he will be one of my major pump plays in majority of my lineups this week.
Liehr, I get where your head's at with the Landon Castle play. I understand it, and I kind of appreciate it. I don't understand the reason that you're on him specifically. Like, all these, we've been over this multiple times this season. All these value guys are the same. And what I see when I look at Castle is a guy that has 0 top 20s in his last 5 races here. That tells me that he doesn't even have a ceiling that's worth playing, whereas I can play the guy I'm going to recommend. Actually, I'm going to give you a 2 for here in a second that you're going to like better, that both guys are going to finish with more points. And I'm even willing to have a friendly wager with you, Liehr, that both of those guys finish far better off than what Castle does.
I'm kind of with you on this, Poppa, but I can definitely understand what Jamie's talking about with the Landon Castle play. It's just, you're right. It's just why are you on Landon Castle out of all of them? And, in Jamie's defense, he did, make his picks earlier in the week than we did, so he didn't see qualifying or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, I like Matt DiBenedetto a little more than Landon Castle. I like Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher's, in the hometown track. He always talks about how he raced at the smaller Texas Motor Speedway track and always wanted to race on the big track. So you got to love that narrative. And he's definitely, a consistent driver you can trust. So there's a lot of guys you can pick, at the bottom of the barrel. I don't think Landon Castle's a bad one.
No.
But I don't want people out there to think that if you're picking a guy and you have enough money for Landon Castle that he's the only option, because I definitely think there are other options and potentially better options out there.
Agreed, and like I said, it's just my personal opinion. But one of those better options is Michael McDowell, my value play. He qualified 28th, and in his last 4 fantasy performances, and I know this has been a guy that I keep telling you guys to play, and there's a reason why. He got you 38, 34, 47, 38, all of which pay off his price tag. I think as far as the low end drivers, only he and Brian Scott, who had a performance you didn't care for last week, are the ones that have been paying off on a consistent basis. I like both of those Scotts. I like both of these guys. Scott is actually starting right behind McDowell. Look for them to both be dialed in, stay on the lead lap, and move up even from their place from where they're starting at 29th and 30th. I think they're both legit plays, and this is why I like both of them better. And to be honest, DiBenedetto and Busher better than I like Castle. It's when you get down this low, you have to sort of go with gut, go with track history, go with the current form of the cars, and I just like these guys better than Castle. Your opinions, Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, if just before I talk about Michael McDowell, I also want to talk about Chris Buescher is priced at $6,200. I know he's not getting the same cars, but let's not soon forget that when this chase started, he was championship eligible, and he's only $6,200. Kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense if you're not going to have some exposure to Chris Buescher. I've made sure to have some to him over the past few weeks just because he's consistency at a low price tag, and that's what I like to see. But Michael McDowell, people might talk about Michael McDowell didn't qualify far enough back for their liking, but that just means he has more speed than the guys he out-qualified. Simply, I mean, when the race gets going, he's gonna motor on past those guys, and he's gonna probably stay on the lead lap when they get gobbled up by the fast coming Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano, as you said, as Austin Dillon's trying to find a hole in the 20s. But I definitely think that Michael McDowell's going to be a better option. He's got, just not going a lap down at the beginning of the race, honestly, is bigger than most people, realize. And if you're starting, what people want out of a guy like 34th on back, probably going to go a lap down on the first run. So I love the Michael McDowell play. And the dude's got speed, and the 95 team is rumored to be opening up a second car for next year. So it's not like they don't have the funding to get the job done either.
Yeah, no, that's what I got a little over giddy with it and left it out. Ever since they made the crew chief swap and took the crew chief and made him the engineer tech, and we've put more money, and it just seems that there's more money in that car. It seems that car's dialed in better, and it seems that we're actually getting to see McDowell for the racer he is capable of being because he's finally getting equipment to move up with him. And if the rumors are true that they're getting another car, this is prime time for them to keep having good finishes, top 20, top 15 finishes, and that's exactly what we're looking for out of a $5,600 value play that qualified 28. I think he will honestly be on the winning lineup this weekend at that price tag.
I could see that, definitely.
As you can see, we gave you a lot of value, guys, for the money you needed to save to spend up for those studs that we recommended at the beginning of the show. Now's the segment of Going to the Garage where we get to talk trash on a driver or a team, or perhaps it's just overqualification, or maybe it's DraftKings pricing is the reason why we don't like them this week. We're going to do a joint Going to the Garage here as we're both just in utter agreement. Austin Dillon is our Going to the Garage play.
Austin Dillon, you are the lucky winner. Please come on down.
But look, I love Maverick, and you guys know how much of a Maverick fan I am, and I am excited to see that car qualify on the pole, and it means a lot to that organization and to him as a driver. Kudos. But there is zero chance that Logano and Harvick don't pass him in the first 5 laps. And there is zero chance that either one of those guys aren't the dominator for at least the first chunk of the race. Austin Dillon is going to fall back. He will probably fall back to about, I'm guessing, to the 15-20 range. And that is a lot of negative points that you don't want any piece of. Adrian, you have anything to add to why we're sending him to the garage?
Oh, trust me, I have plenty to add on poor Austin Dillon. Congrats to that team for getting the pole. That's going to be a good morale booster and a good way to, end their season. They'll definitely look back on that as a high note for the season. He's an overqualification, just like Poppa said. He has 7 starts at Texas. He has no top 10s, and he has 2 top 20s. Those 2 top 20s were a 19th and an 11th place finish. All I have to say is no thank you, Austin Dillon. $7,900 is going to stay in my pocket. I will not purchase.
My Going to the Garage guy this week is Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman has had an up and down too, but with all that came a new contract extension with RCR. But this week, Ryan is coming back to a track in which he has a lot of races under his belt. But this track is, for the most part, has gotten the best of him. He's got 26 starts here in Texas, 1 win way back in 2003. He's got 3 top 5s and 5 top 10s and 3 DNFs. His cost this week is the same as it's been over the last handful of weeks here at $7,800. But the last 3 out of his 4 races here at Texas, he's had negative place differential. They have nothing to race for except for, obviously winning money. But he will not be the driver that gives you what you need to take over your GPPs this week. As cash game plays, I definitely would not pick Ryan Newman this week, just because he, as far as his history here at Texas, historically he's shown that when he starts on the top 10, top 15, he has a negative place differential. But if he does qualify, in the 20s, mid 20s, I would definitely make him a play. But if he overqualifies, no way would I take number 31 in the Ryan Newman team.
That wraps up our Going to the Garage segment.
Okay.
All right, guys, we'll let Adrian say his goodbyes and have a great week. Let's make some money. Adrian.
All right, thanks, guys, for watching. We really appreciate you guys watching us every week, and hopefully we're helping you build better lineups, and hopefully we're building better lineups ourselves, too. But good luck out there, and hopefully Trevor Bain sneaks his way into victory lane this weekend.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching the show again. We appreciate your dedication each and every week. I want to thank you guys for all your comments and likes. But also want to say congratulations to Chicago Cubs for winning the World Series. Growing up in Iowa, I was a huge Cubs fan, and my old man's a huge Cubs fan. So been a long time coming, 108 in 08. But what a great World Series to watch. But good luck to everybody this weekend. Poppa and I are going to try to secure one of those qualifier seats to the Miami Homestead race. So this is the last weekend to get it done. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. But appreciate you guys watching the show, and hope you guys have a great weekend.
All right, thanks again for watching, guys. Remember to like, share, favorite, subscribe, tell your friends, tell potential sponsors that you want to help sponsor the show. We love having you guys. We love that you guys give us your time every week, and hopefully we're making good money together playing fantasy NASCAR. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.